Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Where my mom's at? Where my mom's wearing thongs, hitting bongs at? Raising kids, cleaning shits, need a long nap. Where my mom's at?
Where My Mom's At podcast with Christina P.
Meow, 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 meow. Come see me do stand up in West Palm Beach, Florida, January 20th and 21st. Addison, Tejas at the Improv, February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then Portland, Oregon at Revolution Hall. We're adding a show, March 31st. April 1st, Rohnert Park, California at the casino. I think that one's gone. Chicago, Park West Theater, April 29th. And then the next night in Milwaukee at Turner Hall, and then Charlestown. Is that right? Charlestown?
I think Charlestown.
West Virginia. The weirdest tour by far, but my agent. I have a few rules when I tour. I'm like, I go out very limited time. Don't send me somewhere cold in the winter. So that's why these parameters are in place. And my husband tours. He's going to be international. So someone's got to raise the fucking kids. ChristinaPOnline.com. Buy my lipstick. Thank you to everybody that already has. It's back ordered again. It's bananas. I'm going to have to start my own lipstick company because it's just been such a banger. So thank you to everybody who's bought my lipstick. We're going to keep going with that. Now, with me, I'm so thrilled to have this lady. She came all the way from New York in the freezing cold and blizzards, and she's so smart. She's so great. Please, Jessica Grose, thank you so much for being here.
I'm so psyched to be here. I'm so psyched to not be in cold New York right now.
Bring up her book,
with my
please.
Children.
I bet. You're so impressive to me. I found you on Instagram because I'm in a desperate search to find women that are... I think we're this new wave of women who are really just putting it out there and telling the truth. And I think women are, historically, you don't want to say stuff, maybe there's a secret society, right? You become a mother and then everything's quiet.
Well, I think that there's still,
truth.
There's so many people telling the truth on the internet in stand-up. I think actually the most honest talk about motherhood happens in stand-up, which is part of why I like stand-up so much.
Yeah.
But you still get so much backlash. You would not want to see the comments and mentions I get constantly. And I say things I'm constantly told at work. So I write for the New York Times.
Yeah, you're so impressive. Tell people. Listen, Jessica Grose, she just wrote Screaming on the Inside, which is why she's here today. She's promoting her book. You should absolutely buy it on Amazon. You can get it on the Kindle. Do you prefer people buy it a hardcover, like old school?
Whatever. Listen, as long as they buy it, I'm happy. Just buy
so
it.
Good. It is so phenomenal. I absolutely fell in love with you. So you're a New York Times writer.
Yes.
And you've also you've worked on startups and...
Yeah. I've just been working in journalism for 20 years, which is frightening to think about that I'm old enough to have been working for 20 years.
You don't look that old.
Oh, thank you. I'm feeling really old in the face. Do you feel that? It's like children make you old in the face.
Yeah.
And I
sure
did.
do.
Wait, have you ever done Botox?
I'm doing it. I'm
You're
flying
doing
to
it?
LA next week to do it. Botox and filler.
I did Botox once.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I was on my high horse, I'm not going to do it again. I don't like how it made my face look. This was a year and a half ago. And now I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, man, you got to go back.
And now I'm like, I look old. But what I was saying was people, I feel like I put things in a pretty mild, nuanced way, especially for my day job, because they're constantly being like, it's a family newspaper. You can't say that, which I understand.
Right.
And I get just the nastiest.
What are people upset with you about?
The biggest thing is if you are perceived to be complaining about motherhood in any way, they're like, well, you chose it. You made this choice. Why are you bitching? You shouldn't say that. You must hate being a mom. And it's that's not what it's about. Being honest about the range of feelings just brings us all closer together and makes it easier.
Yeah.
It's harder when you feel you can't be honest about the real experience of what it's like.
Gosh, that's so true. And I admit I was one of those people that was I remember I even tweeted a million years ago. I'm like, do people have kids just to complain about them? Because it seems like that's the trend. And then you have them and you're like, wait, nobody really talks, at least I never listened maybe, to women discussing what it really is like. And you're right, there's this range of emotion. But you have ambivalence or range of emotion towards everything.
Exactly.
Towards your husband, towards your dog, towards this candle, towards this cup of coffee. And I don't know why motherhood is such a sacred cow that if you have any sort of ambivalence towards it, you're just a piece of shit. I remember one time I had my first son, and I was really postpartum-y, and I was working with some woman on some TV show, and I was like, I don't know, I don't like this. This is terrible. Motherhood is the pits right now. It's 6 months in, I'm misery. And she goes, oh, Christina doesn't love her children. She said that. She goes, oh, Christina doesn't love her kids. Yeah, and I was like that, and I go, do I not? And I was like, well, that didn't resonate, so it didn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
But it was an odd perception. She must not love her kids. And I'm like, that's just stupid.
Well, there's this whole idea that when you become a mother, you are put in this different moral category.
That's right. You say this in your book. Yes.
So it used to be called in the Victorian era, like the angel in the house.
Yes.
So you're supposed to rise above it all and be self-sacrificing.
Yes.
And when you tell the truth about it, you puncture that fantasy, right? And especially now, I think this is why there's such backlash to honesty. Now, for most people, I don't know, we're in Texas, so maybe not for everyone in Texas. Motherhood is a choice. They're trying to make it less of one. But since it is a choice, I think people are afraid that if you tell the truth, fewer people will want to do it.
Sorry, say it again.
Because basically
Right.
it's a choice for most people to be a parent. And
Yes.
I think if some people are worried that if you tell the truth, fewer people are going to want to be mothers. And I just don't think that that's true. Because I
Right.
feel like the urge to be a parent is so much deeper than just like, oh, I'm bitching about how hard it is. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It has nothing to do with the PR of being a mother.
No.
But I think people think that. They're afraid of that.
Well, look how many people choose to become actors, singers, comedians, and all you hear are horror stories of like 20 years of, staying in motels and being told you're never going to make it, being thrown, bottles thrown at my head, and I'm still doing it. Like, I think there's even more valor attached when you look something directly between the eyes and you're like, this will fuck you up, and you still do it. I think there's more valor.
Well, I always
like,
think about, so I write in the book about my very difficult first pregnancy.
My God, you guys, if you thought you hated being pregnant, Jessica's account
fucking
of
hated it. So I had hyperemesis. I was just barfing constantly. I got super depressed because I had gone off antidepressants to conceive. So I still to this day don't know if I hadn't had hyperemesis, if I would have gotten depressed. But if you're just barfing, if you're not like eating any food, you feel horrible. My hair fell out. Like I look like shit. Oh my God. And that was also, I was so vain about it. Like I was like, that was also really hard. Like I was like, oh, and I look terrible.
Of course, I had a cold sore this week. I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Just put a bag over my head. Let me hide in the hotel. Jesus.
But even after going all through that, I really wanted a second child because I was like, I love being a mother. It's not rational. Like if you're like, would I want to put my body through this again? Absolutely not. No. And you had, what were your pregnancies like?
So I'm one of those annoying people who I don't say I loved every minute of it, but my biggest problem was that I gained like 85 pounds on the first one. 3 days a week I was at In-N-Out, and then on my days off I was at Carl's Jr.
Oh, that sounds great.
I was pretty lucky. Like honestly, I was nauseous, but I never puked. I was pretty healthy, pretty blessed. #blessed. It was when they came into the world that my issues began. I was so depressed, and I didn't have, and I think a lot of motherhood for some women, maybe it's not as difficult. And I think a lot of that is, and you talk about this in your book too, like, maybe there's more structure there for women. I mean, you talk about in society, like the work life too, which sucks for so many women.
It's really hard. I think for most people who are parents, my sort of philosophy is you're going to get it sometime. It's going to be there will be periods that are harder than other periods, right?
Yeah.
So for some people that's pregnancy, for some people that it's birth, some people it's postpartum, some people it's when their kids are teenagers. Like the lifespan of your children and your relationship with them is constantly changing, and it's constantly like I'm in a period now which is like actually really great. My kids are 6 and 10.
Oh, freedom.
They're like, they go to school.
No
they can
diapers.
mostly do shit for themselves. My older daughter is like, will sometimes do psychological violence on me, but is like also super fun to hang out with. Like we'll like sit and watch Mean Girls together. It's the best. She's fun and smart, and it's like way easier. I did not like being a mother to toddlers. I thought that's tough. That was the worst for me.
That's tough.
Really like babies, but like 1 to 2, they're so irrational and they're
I'm the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, because for
babies.
me the fear. I hate the baby face. I love babies. I don't like the baby face. I don't like taking care because they can't communicate, talk, and I'm very verbal, and I get really hyper anxious, hyper vigilant, and also I think because I didn't have a mother to guide me through.
Yeah,
and my shrink always says that. She's like, well, because your mother's supposed to guide you through, and there's your community of women and aunts and blah 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 that tell you like, no, it's normal. This is normal. I didn't have any of that. It was just me and like our nanny, who was a lover, God bless her. Mm-hmm. But like, that was it. And Tom was on the road and I was extremely anxious.
That's so hard for you. How do you deal with that with him being on the road all the time? I
still am like, for me, motherhood's calmed down a lot since they can talk. Yes. I can deal with dysregulation, mental patients, because my mom was a mental patient.
You're like, this is normal for me. I'm used to it. It's fine.
Kids saying crazy stuff to me.
Yes.
Yeah, talking to walls. That's what I grew up with. Like, that's normal behavior. So, like, the irrational is rational for me.
Right.
I think it was the helplessness. That's what scares me. But I wish we had a community of... we no longer live with our family of origin when we have children, especially in America.
I really think there's so many things. I feel like the subtitle of the book is The Unsustainability of American Motherhood. And I wish we had chosen a different subtitle because unsustainability is really hard to say. But part of the reason I wanted to talk specifically about American motherhood is because we have like the shittiest country in so many ways, especially for parents. I mean, there's no national health care. If you talk to people who have had children in England or France, they're I got a year off and it was fully paid. And also the nurse came by.
Yeah, in France.
Oh, in France, they get pelvic floor therapy for free.
Sweet.
Just like by... that's the health service. Like everybody gets it. And there's just more acceptance societally that people will have children. I mean, in my own paper, did you read this article where people who had paid for first class were angry about crying babies in first class? And I'm just like, you live in a society, grow up. Like, I'm sorry that you think that you now control the airspace around you to like not have crying babies in it.
Yeah.
It was... But I feel like
they do ruin the experience.
Of course they do.
Fair. Let's be honest. And I do. No, I don't. I used to side eye. I would totally. Hey, I was one of those a-holes that was like, really? But I still side eye when people bring on like the 8-week-old to a cross country flight. I'm like, really? You want the kid to get RSV now?
I'm more angry about pets, to be honest. If I'm going to complain about somebody on a plane, it's going to be, and I think it's just because I live in New York City where it's like, it's just like, steaming hot dog piss on the sidewalk everywhere I walk, and I'm just like, fuck this. Like, why? But you know what? I don't. My reaction is not like we should ban dogs. It's like you live in a society and things are annoying. See, like these people are like, you should ban babies from first class. It's grow up.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting because you in your book you discuss how there's these cultural norms and you feel them the minute you get pregnant. You feel them when you have the baby. And boy, let me tell you though, it is regional. Because when I had my children in Los Angeles, the ethos there was like, first of all, if you're not doing Pilates until you give birth, you're a piece of shit, right? So by the second kid, I straightened up, I flew right, I got into Pilates. The first kid was Carl's Jr. in and out, I was a pig. And then you better breastfeed. The mandate is, boy, oh boy, in California, and they really push that skin to skin, the mandatory. I think you mentioned that in your book too, because your child was in the NICU.
Yes. In Brooklyn, it's the same. Like it's less Pilates, but definitely like crunchy. Like breastfeeding forever.
Natural.
Wearing the baby. I never liked wearing the baby. I never wanted to do it. I was like, I'm going to suffocate them. I don't like this. Like it just was
the baby. Where the baby. Where I know it's and now it's so absurd because you're like, you do snuggle. They love some. Here's the thing. My first kid hated being worn. Like I'd put him in that hippie wrap.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, well, he would scream the entire time. And then the second kid, same, they fucking hate it. My kids hated him rap. And then you see these TikTok videos. There's this mom that's like, oh God. She goes, I never got sleep deprived my child's first year because I co-sleep. And the baby sleeps next to me, and I just lift my breast, and he suckles, and we both sleep, and I don't even have to. And I was like, good for you, really, good for you.
Right.
If this is who you are, and it doesn't bother you to be constantly tethered to your infant for 24/7. For me, I needed space. I still need space.
Yeah.
I need a little boundary between you and me.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. That's always sort of where I think people should do whatever they want. And that,
yes.
I've spent much of my career reading medical studies, and my parents are doctors. Like, I understand how to read.
Smart, Jessica
I'm really
Grose.
not. I'm a garbage
She went
person.
she went to an Ivy League. What was your SAT score?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
A 1,500. And of course, I do remember.
A solid 15.
I was a nerd, man. Like,
but nerds are cool now. It's
I
like,
know,
it's
but
not like it used to be, what I mean?
are we though? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
the tech kind, because they make money. I chose a stupid profession where, like,
Stupid.
So how smart really am I? Like, I am very grateful for the job I have that is very steady, and I make really good money for a journalist.
I love that.
But it's still a journalist.
Yeah.
And with my education, I'm sure I could have made so much more money. So, like, how smart am I at the end of the day? But anyway,
gosh. Okay, so yes, so we're talking about baby wearing and
but so reading all the studies, it's like,
yeah, what are the studies saying?
It doesn't actually matter.
I
Like,
know.
especially when your kids are in the first year, there's all these things like you need to do X, Y, and Z. And like at the end of the day, it's just stability, consistency, love, care. Like those big things. And even so, it's like you see kids who are in horrible circumstances turn out okay, and kids in great circumstances turn out not great. It's always a combination of nature and nurture.
It's
like
true.
There's genes and then there's environment. And anyone, I think, with a brain can understand the nuance, and that it's always a combination of factors. And so I think especially in that first, like pregnancy in that first year of your children's life, when they can't talk to you, they can't give you any feedback. There's so much pressure on mothers specifically to do everything perfectly and do it right.
Oh, I felt that.
And
yeah.
whatever that means. And the truth of the matter is, like, all of these tiny decisions don't actually make that much of a difference. Like in aggregate,
Wow.
obviously, you want to do right by your kid. You want to have like consistency, structure, enough money to survive. Like all of those things are incredibly important. But like whether you doing like the example I give in the book is I've heard so many people fret about if you're introducing milk to your child when they're one, like what kind of milk? Is it 1%? Is it whole milk, which is the right kind? And it's like, guess what? It doesn't fucking matter.
God.
Like just choose one and it will be fine.
Did you know that traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat? It can lead to acne, allergies, and stuffy noses, and it's just the grossest. Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent 99% of bacteria and require 3 times less laundry. Gosh, who doesn't want that in their lives? Miracle Made products are silver infused, which have self-cooling and self-cleaning properties for better quality sleep. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands, and they are better for your skin. Go to trymiracle.com/WMMA to try it today. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Save over 40% and be sure to use our promo code WMMA at checkout to save even more and get 3 free towels. And Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you are not 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/WMMA and use the code WMMA to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/WMMA to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode.
But I'm not trying to condescend or because I had those freakouts too.
So
like,
did I. I was an idiot.
Course.
My first one too.
So
especially.
I totally empathize with that feeling because it all feels so consequential. but
does.
in fact, it's not. It's like the everyday. It's like showing up every day for your kid.
Consistency over time, and the good enough mother, being good enough.
Exactly.
But again, I do feel so I was an LA mom, and then everybody's in their Lululemon pants, and this, these bitches would drop babies and then back into shape right away. And then there was a lot of like, well, Logan can't have sugar at the party, so I hope those cupcakes are gluten-free. And like, everybody was bringing gluten-free shit to the parties, and like, I hope they're not having strawberries. The baby's not eating honey or strawberries or egg, are they? Because that's a highly allergic.
Jesus.
And I remember being, oh shit, I guess I better care. And then I moved to Texas. And they're like, hey, come on over, we're having cupcakes. This one's sugar. And then I see moms just feeding their kids sloppy joes. And nobody's worried that there's gluten in the bun.
Yeah.
And hey, well, Timmy got a little gun for his birthday. And it's all boys at the party. And we do have boys and girls in Texas, just so you know. There's no fucking gender problems yet until they can decide, So it was really cultural, and I don't feel the pressure here.
That's good.
To be like Incredimom, but I do think the coast, it's a city ethic.
I heard a friend who lived in LA said that there were moms who would not let their kids have carrots because carrots had too much sugar. And I was just like, how the fuck do you live like this?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I will say though, like,
yes.
New York City is so big and like so close together. So I found my people pretty easily.
That's
like
good.
I did not, but I didn't. I was the first of my friends to have a kid, and so I was actually very like resistant to making just mom friends because I'm like, what is? It's not even a thing to have in common. Like everybody has, billions of people have kids. Like just because we like fucked in the same month. Like, that's like, why am I joining this baby group for December 2012 moms? Like, what do we have in common? That's not a thing to have in common.
I know.
So I just waited. Like, by the time my kids were in preschool, I made friends through the preschool who were like, these are my people. Yeah. Like, mostly working moms, though not all. But, like, they just had the same attitude about things as I did. And so they were easy to be with.
Yeah. You just have to find your tribe.
Yeah.
But to speak to your thing about having support in the healthcare system, also in employment. But okay, so let's start with healthcare stuff. I mean, you're right. If you don't have, I remember seeing the bill for my delivery, like in LA, and we had really good insurance through SAG-AFTRA, and I was like, oh my God. It was so, what is it, like $40,000 to have a baby in Los Angeles? I was like, oh my God. How do people do this shit? Like,
they don't. The medical bills, I don't know if this is still true, but I read a book that was written like 10 years ago, and it was the largest reason for bankruptcy in America, or medical bills.
Yeah. Oh, forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember before we had money, when I was a broke comedian, I was like, I hope I don't get something.
Yeah.
I pray that I don't get cancer. I can't afford a $500 pill.
Yeah. So I think, well, also, I mean, this is actually very sad. I did a story because I had a miscarriage between my two girls, and I was getting bills for the DNC that I had to get from that miscarriage for months afterwards.
Ooh.
And insurance covers that. But it was still like, I would just like every 2 months get like another bill for like $500.
Why?
And because it's expensive. It's a minor surgery and the copay. And like, it just was like insult to injury, right? Because it was like, it wasn't, I have had friends who have had much worse pregnancy losses. So it was like first trimester, like I'm over it. It's not a big deal to me now. But it fucking sucked. And then just to get reminded every 4 weeks, like not only did you not have this baby, but you owe us another $200.
Pay up, bitch.
Here it is.
Yeah.
And I did a story about it, and it's like people with bad insurance or no insurance were paying. Either went bankrupt or were paying tens of thousands of dollars over time for babies they didn't even have. It was just broke my heart.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, also too, I think you're right that culturally, like, I don't want to say that America hates moms. That's so dramatic, but there's definitely not a culture of support. Like, and again, I do think it's regional because in LA, I remember the looks of disdain I would get when I take my kids out to, like, there was this place in Malibu. Shout out if everybody knows the Country Mart, whoop whoop, and it's got like a playground in the middle, And then there's restaurants and crap, right? And it was 5 o'clock dinner, brew. 5 o'clock. Like, the only people eating, I'm not ruining anybody's day except blue hairs, right?
Right.
So we go there. My kids are just wild, feral dogs, just running around, eating, and we're screaming. And I got so much side eye, like so many looks. And I'm like, they put a playground in the middle of the fucking center.
Oh, that's so annoying.
But in Texas, it's way less. You know, they're like, look at him. Just look at that spirit. Look at him running, putting his hands in the pond. Like, they laugh at craziness here. Yeah. There's a fucking county line barbecue. You can go. Your kids can lay on a dock on their bellies, touch turtles, touch fish, and then run back to the table and eat barbecue. So there is, I think... Yeah, granted, you can't have an abortion in Texas,
sure.
But then
pluses and minuses.
You wouldn't have your DNC here.
Yeah,
but they do support family.
Yeah.
There's a family ethic here that's supported. But like in France, what you were saying, there's this the reality of like, hey, you had a baby. That's traumatic.
Yeah. Why
don't you take some time off? The woman's going to come. The nurse visits you in your home. You get support.
Yeah.
Even in Asia, right? You're not supposed to leave the house for like 30 days or something after.
I think it's
or 90 days. 90 days for the Asians. They don't let you even see their newborn.
And in Latin cultures, it's the quarantina, so it's like 40 days, I think.
Great.
But
don't come over. Fuck off. Fuck right off. Yeah. It's the worst.
But as you were saying, like the multi-generational, like I don't know if I would have had a second kid if we didn't live near my parents. Like my parents provide us so much like practical and emotional support, and they're in good health and like knock wood. So like that, just having that around, even if I don't see them, knowing in the back of my mind, it's like if I have a childcare fail, if I'm freaking out about something, it's like they're here.
Yeah, and that's everything.
It's everything. It's so much.
Because you talk about in the book too, there's a whole industry of mothers who they don't get their schedules. God, this really stuck out to me. Like they don't get their work schedule until sometimes last minute.
Yeah, just in time scheduling. So a lot of hourly workers will not know their schedule until like a week before, which means it's impossible to arrange for childcare if you don't know when you're going to be working. And especially for single moms, like that's the worst. So our country just does not. I mean, but it's sort of a larger thing, right? Because I think, and again, why I wanted to focus on America, it's a very individualistic culture, right?
Yes.
And so it's like every person for themselves, you do you, which is, I think, great in some ways.
Yeah.
And, you know, made for a lot of growth in industry and all that shit. But at the end of the day, it means like, you've made a decision to have a child, so good luck with that shit. And we're not going to help you out.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
But as single mothers, Tom and I always talking about how like, you want to hire the best employee of your life, hire a single mother. She will get shit done.
Efficient.
Yeah, dog. Like single mothers show up, they work hard. They don't play because there's a lot on the line. They do really good.
But I mean, I think moms in general are like, they're not every mom I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
They just like come, if they're in the office, it's business. Like they're not fucking around. They're not schmoozing.
Yeah.
Because they want to get home. They need to get home.
They need to get home.
Yeah.
Let's talk about dads. I mean, I think.
Do you ever feel like you just want to be like? I've been feeling this because I have a full-time day job and I've been promoting this book, which is like another job.
Oh, it's
and then
so much work.
And like the past month, all I keep thinking is like, I want to be a dad. That's such a good gig.
Easy.
It's so nice. And but like, it's like I have to do all this.
Yeah.
And then I come home and I still have to be the mom. I come home and it's like all the emotions of my children are just like, we've been waiting for you. Yeah. Because he can't deal with our feelings. So like we've been holding the feelings. And now you're here. And girls are deep psychological torture. Girls want inside of your brain. Yeah.
Boys just want to torture you.
I will tell you,
physically.
So my 10-year-old is like, I think growing up in New York City, you're like sophisticated.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
those kids are warriors. I love it.
It's great. But also she will just neg me. Like I bought her a pair of pants that she asked for. She tries them on and she was like, I don't like these. They look like something you would wear. And then she like tried to walk it back when she was
didn't.
like, she felt bad, I think a little bit. And she was like, no, I like that one pair. That like, I was like, just the one. And I was like, just stop while you're ahead because you've already like destroyed my self-esteem.
Yeah.
And she didn't even like think she wasn't even trying to be mean is the saddest part.
Yeah.
Like it just, that was
So
what
natural.
it occurred to her to say.
Yes, my boys will be like, you're fat. You're old. They tell me, they'll tell you straight to your face. My sister-in-law, they're like, you're skinny. You're good. But Tom and I, they call us fat. And they love to repeat my age. Do your children do that?
Oh, yeah.
They're like, you're 46. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then Ellis was like, you're middle-aged. I'm like, I'm a little over it.
My little one is sweet though. She was like always telling me I'm beautiful.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, you get one sweet one and one meanie.
One salty.
Yeah.
Salty and sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wish I were dad too because I do feel like so you get married, right? And I don't know how long were you and your hubby married before
So we've
children?
been together forever.
Yeah.
I got together like you got together
Samesies.
young, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was 23 and he was 24.
Wow.
And then we got married. I was 28, he was 29. And then I was 30 and he was 32 when we had our first.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But yeah, everything before you have kids, it's like can be completely equal.
Yes.
You're doing your own thing.
Yes. And I also felt like, I got to live as a man before I had children. Like
Yes.
you basically have this equal marriage, this equal life where you're both career driven.
Yep.
And you're like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And then I delusionally went into motherhood that way of like, well, yeah, I mean, it'll be equal, right? Like Tom and I will just take care of the baby the way we do the dog. No.
Yeah, even my
No.
husband and I, all my girlfriends are like, your husband's the best one. So he does get so much credit.
Okay. See, this, I don't know what the bar is. So what's the best one?
I
Tell
would
me
say
then.
like he does a lot of childcare, like 50 for real, 50-50.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because we have similar, make
yeah.
a similar amount. We have similar jobs. Neither of us,
Okay.
he travels more. What drove me crazy, like I never go anywhere ever. This is like a miracle that I'm
you're
away
out.
from my children.
Yeah, get
so I
faded
had
tonight.
one single night last year that I was out of town for work. And he was, of course, that was the week he had to be in LA for 5 days for work. And I was just like, I can't have this one thing. And the other revelation that I've sort of had over the past
God damn it.
couple of years, and it is backed up by research, like Harvard Business Review did a huge study about this. Men are very happy to support their wives' careers and have wives that work. So we're at that point, I think.
That's cool.
But they don't ever want to sacrifice for their wives' careers.
No.
That is where we are with the inequality, because they will never, like, women are constantly taking a step back to raise the family and like making that sacrifice. So it's like they're happy to have you do your thing, but they will not sacrifice their thing.
Oh, they won't even sacrifice like going to the gym. God forbid. Like my husband's schedule is my husband's schedule.
Right.
It seems to be just like, what kids? What like I'm gonna go race car driving today. Oh, you are? Who's gonna watch the kids? Like it doesn't even occur to him
Right. So
that there's these other people.
I will say my husband does do that. However,
He does that he does what my husband does. Where
No,
he's
no,
like,
no.
Bye-bye now. Okay.
It depends. Like he's gotten better over the years. And I will say the one thing I did when our older daughter was a baby, he would constantly be like, why is she crying? Like, why is she doing this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't speak baby. Like, why do you think I know why she's crying? It's one of three things. The same three things that it always is. She's hungry, she's wet, or like she's cranky. Like those are the three things. It's one of them. Figure it out. So I think that was a good thing to do at the beginning, being like, I don't know how to do this
You're
either.
not
We're
the
going to learn
magic.
together.
Yeah, I didn't get that luxury. I didn't
But
get
he
that.
travels so much. That's
the
hard.
problem. Yeah.
That's
And
really
also,
hard.
like, to be fair, he makes a shit ton more money.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, all right, that's the trade-off is like, we're kind of, a little Lucy and Ricky. So that's the trade-off.
But
I
the thing
guess.
is, that's not always gendered. So there have been studies of lesbian couples or gay couples.
Oh, tell me everything.
So-
I've always wondered about the lesbians. It must be so great.
But it's the same because there aren't gender roles to fall back on. It's who makes more money. So whoever makes more money has more of a dad role, and whoever makes less money has more of a mom role. So it is which is almost like more fucked. I don't know if it's more or less fucked up. At least it's
practical.
like it's practical.
See, and it does fall in line with American values and customs, right? Because making money is the most important thing in America. It really is. Because you have to pay for your own hospital. You have to pay for your nanny.
Yep.
You have to pay for everything. So that makes sense. And yeah, it's just a division of labor. And it's, I think because I had children later. And so I was like, dude, I was a guy until I was like 38. And now I'm a woman. This sucks. Like, I want to go back to being a dude.
I will say the one thing that like he just can't do. He said, okay, he was trying so hard, man. I don't want to flame him, but I'm going to do it anyway. He was like, you're so busy. Let me plan our younger daughter's birthday party. And I was like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, I don't
shit.
like, so I was already like, let me email the parents because you're not going to know. There's just no way you're going to know.
No way.
So I was like, I'll send the invite. And he was like, in his mind, taking care of it meant just booking the venue. And I was like, not even a cake. People? I invited the people already, but he like didn't even
get a cake.
It was like 3 days before. And I was like, I knew he would get upset if I asked him because he would be like, think that he didn't have it. But he didn't do it. He didn't order a cake. And then he goes, what should go on the cake? And I was like, fucking happy birthday, man. How do you survive in this world? So, like, it worked out. We figured it out. But I couldn't.
No, I know.
I knew in my head when he said, I'll take care of the birthday, I was like, I don't think you can do this, man.
And like, why though? But why? Because I feel like my husband does that shit too. Like,
they're trying. They really
are. They? Are they?
Know.
I think it's a little bit of bullshit helplessness. Like,
it is,
I don't
yes.
know where the toothbrush is for the kid. Like, you know where the shit is. It's been in the same place.
I know.
That's not true. They can look. My husband he's a very successful person.
Same with my husband. He's like, he's not dropping the ball at work. He can figure it out when it's a work thing. But like, I know.
They're such idiots.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say another good thing about having girls though.
Yeah. Tell me.
They call him out.
Ooh.
They notice when they're like, why don't you have this together? Like, because especially my older one is she can parent herself already. It's amazing. She's so organized and put together. Like and now she has an Apple Watch, so she texts me, which is very unsettling.
Weird. Yeah.
It's very unsettling. But she was like, Mom, did you remember to sign me up for this after school thing? And I was like, I didn't. Thanks for reminding me. It's amazing.
That's great.
Yes.
I can't wait for that.
I mean, the downside is she has all of my good personality and my bad personality. Yeah. Do you have a kid who's just like you?
Yes.
Because it is very hard.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I love it because I know what's going on in his head.
Yes.
Because I'm like, you're fucking psycho like me. I'm grateful for it. To be fair, because he's a complicated one.
Right.
And I got lucky that I can parent to him.
Yeah.
Because if he had some parent whose temperament is not a good match, he would be very unhappy, I think.
So my older daughter is very much like me. She's like perfectionionistic. She's very organized.
Oh boy, me too.
But the downside is like anxiety, insomnia. And so it's like but I feel the same way. I'm like, I can parent you because I understand so intimately what you're going through. The other side of it for me though is like, it's so painful to watch.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't want to see this with you. I love you so much. But she can handle it.
They're going to handle it. They're resilient.
They'll be okay.
They're resilient. You know, they'll figure it out. Especially you. You've got a big brain on you. Your husband's smart.
We're all right.
They'll figure it out. But my hope for this generation, and I think it is coming along. I mean, I have to keep in perspective too, like our fathers probably never my dad never changed a diaper. Are you crazy? Or gave really a shit about our emotional life. Children were tiny adults,
right,
up until very recently, I would say.
Oh, I mean, if you were 100 years ago, you were working in the factory, like literally, like they had to pass child labor laws, like, or you were being put to work in the household. Like the idea of even childhood is kind of a new invention.
Yes.
I have to give
very interesting
tons of credit to my dad because he was very involved for an 80s dad. But again, like this is why everyone's like, marry a Jewish guy. I didn't. Yeah. But like he was like very, even though he worked, like my parents are a good example. Like they both were doctors, but my mom stepped back and went like 50, 75% time because you just can't. There's only so many hours in the day and somebody needs to be there, right?
That's the argument. Yeah. Somebody needs to be there. Somebody needs to be there. Yeah. And you know, gosh, I read this is so funny. This is so embarrassing. But so there's this Ukrainian girl I follow on TikTok, and she's like, here's things my Ukrainian mother taught me. And I'm like, yeah, my Hungarian mother taught me a lot of these Eastern Bloc-y values with women and marriage. And it's this book called The Rules.
Oh, I've read The Rules. It's the craziest book I've ever read in my fucking life. Like, who are these people? Like, I read it and it was like the 20th anniversary to write about it because I was like, did people act like this in the 90s?
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? It's really archaic, but in some ways really fucking true because this is the rules are what is the template for human society for hundreds and hundreds of years, which is traditional gender roles. Yeah. The woman is, quote, the CEO of the children, which I loved. Don't bother your husband with the children's problems. He's not going to give you sympathy, this and that. And I'm like, that's pretty much how society was for a long time. And it really is just now, I would say the Zoomers, is that what you Gen Zers? And Gen Xers are like, oh, wait a minute, we don't have to be like our parents. And so now there's this softening of masculinity and allowing for feelings and things. And we'll see. I mean, gosh, maybe my children will grow up to be these amazing dads that are 50-50. They'll pull back their career. Yeah. Unlikely. Well, I think society also validates men for being providers and being very successful. Yes. No one gives a fuck if women are successful, especially other men. Men don't give a fuck if Jessica Grose is brilliant. They just want to know if she has a good rack and if she's hot.
Keeping it tight.
Keeping it tight.
Yeah, keeping it
that's
tight. And
all anybody cares about.
I know. I mean, something I used to talk about with an old boss of mine is just like, you don't ever want... Tight. I'm like in the cult of Orange Theory. Like, do you know about Orange Theory?
I've heard of it. I haven't done it yet.
It's really hard. But I'm like a psycho who like, I don't like running, but I love how it makes me feel after. Because if you're very anxious, like it's one of the few things that like calms me down. But I had a very powerful female boss before, and like we would talk all the time about never underestimate how much men do not want to hear women talking about anything. They don't even want to hear you open your mouth. And I wrote a piece this week that actually did very well. It's called The Hour Between Babe and Hag. And it's basically you have 10 years in your career, if you're like, you know, a normie working person, where you are taken seriously as a woman. It's 35 to 45. Wow. And then you're invisible. And before 35, you're like sexualized. So
yes,
I got 5 good years left before they push me out on the ice floe.
That is
too late.
So
I'm sorry, it's too late for you. You're 46.
I'm
it's
done.
Too late.
I'm
done.
dead. It's retirement age. You know what's interesting is I always felt that. I felt it as a female comedian.
Yes.
Because I started around 23. I did improv, whatever. But 26, you're too good looking for anybody to listen to you. No one wants to listen to you.
Right.
It wasn't until I got a little older, fatter, and wrinklier.
Yeah.
And then actually became a mother, and now I'm really off the table sexually, except for a few perverts that are really into it. But until you take on the role of unfuckable mom or MILF, you're not listened to. No. This is really, really something true, especially in comedy, and particularly comedy, because who wants a hot comedian? Nobody wants attractive fucking comedian. It's so boring. It's so boring. You should have a little flaw, you know?
Yes, yeah. Well, because the audience wants to relate to you.
Yeah, they don't want to have to. You don't want to be so hot. I personally don't like the hot, sexed up comedian because it's like, well, they have to laugh at you and they have to stop wanting to fuck you in order to laugh at you. You have to be a little unfuckable.
Yeah, I think for me, we watch a lot of comedy.
Yes.
My husband and I, we go to see a lot of comedy. And I'm always like most drawn to the people who like have that little bit of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like they can be such a dirtbag and I don't care, but you need to see something, their soul inside of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't like the ones that are just like joke. And they're not showing you any of their like,
So
soft
true.
parts.
Yeah.
Like, but that's like to each their own. Like I know a lot of people who like all different kinds of comedy, and that's very like you can't tell people something's funny if they don't think it's funny.
That's true.
Like,
It's subjective.
Yeah, it's very subjective.
That's
but
so
like,
funny.
yeah, you need that. Like, I'm a little vulnerable, and if someone's super hot, the thing is, who I don't trust?
Yeah.
People who never had an awkward period.
I know.
Do you know anyone who's just been attractive their whole life? It's infuriating. Like, I can't talk to you. Like,
So true.
Yeah.
Or like even like super hot models that are like, I had an awkward period.
No
Like,
one
no,
believes
you
that.
fucking didn't. No, you fucking didn't, you bitch. Nah. I know. Or like, I also don't trust really attractive men. Like guys that are as good looking as like female models, because you're like, oh, you have the power of a woman. Like you have a super. So sorry. Back to this idea. So I've always felt that yes, men get validated in the world because of their success and their money and their power that way. But the fact that it's optional for us is kind of rad and very sneaky. And I love this because I don't have to do anything.
Yes.
I choose to do stuff. And then you can really surprise people. Because if, God forbid, you're good at what you do or whatever, then it's even more fun to be like, hey, go fuck yourself.
I will say, like, I do, like, never want to give men too much credit. However, a lot of men would, they have not earned it, but a lot of men would prefer to spend more time with their kids.
You think so?
Yes. I know them. Like, fucking work sucks, man. Like, that's the thing. It's like, why are we pretending that everyone just wants to work more? Like, I'm sure some people don't want to spend time with their kids either. But it's not like everyone's like, yes, I want to spend 12 hours a day doing work. Who wants to do? I'm sure there are some freaks who do want to do that. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that either.
And so I personally know a lot of men who would love to like work more normal hours. I mean, especially in New York where people work the longest hours.
Oh
and
my God.
Yeah. And especially to make the money that you need to stay there. Like,
it's crazy.
You work a lot. I know tons of people, like lawyers especially, like
horrible life.
Worst life.
Horrible
right?
life.
And so they would prefer to spend more time with their kids and less time at work. But
I think so.
They're penalized more for, that is one sort of complicated thing. Yes, moms are discriminated against in many ways, but like dads, if you
forget it.
Yeah, if you're trying to take on what people perceive to be a traditionally female role at work, they're
Forget
like,
it.
get out of here.
Forget
so
it.
I'm empathetic to that.
They
Like,
get
that's hard.
ridiculed.
They get ridiculed. So many men will not, even if they have paternity leave, they won't take the whole paternity leave, not because they don't want to, but because they're afraid that they'll get retaliated against. For promotion, they won't get promoted. They won't. They'll be looked down upon. They'll get worse assignments because it's true. Like they are responding to a real pressure in their workplaces.
Real cultural stuff. And it is bizarre because it's like you don't enjoy your kids. You don't want to. Being with kids is the most fun. Well, okay, so here's another thing I heard. There's two types of activities, teleological and ateleological.
Oh, I don't know that. What does that mean?
Teleological means there's an end in sight.
Okay.
It's you're goal driven. Atelic activities are ones that you do just for the pleasure of doing them. Spending time with family is an atelic event.
Yes.
And I think an atelic event can make a lot of goal-driven men very anxious. Because it's like, what are we doing here? We're just fucking doing Legos? Like, yeah, you're just doing Legos.
Yeah.
We're just throwing rocks in the water. That's what's happening today right now. And I think in a society that validates males for being productive, and look, a lot of people see stay-at-home moms as being unproductive. It does not produce money. It sucks. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of unseen work.
But it's also the caregiving that allows the entire system to function. Like if you weren't taking care of the kids, there would be no more kids and the other person wouldn't be able to go out and work. I mean, I think societally, the pandemic actually did make more people see that because all of the systems of childcare completely fell apart. They're still not back to normal. I saw an economist tweet this graph today that showed that the childcare is where it was in September 2020 right now because the workforce lost so many workers during the pandemic because they don't pay them enough because it's hard fucking work to be with a classroom of small children all day. Can you imagine?
Do you know what I did so I have 2 kids, one in PK4 and one in first grade. I spent a day with the PK4, not even a day, I'm sorry, 1 hour. I did like an activity with them. I was so exhausted I had to take a nap.
Yeah.
And I gave her a massage, a gift card. And I was like, Merry Christmas. You need this so desperately.
More than anybody.
How the fuck do you do this for a living?
Well, you have to, the people who go into that, like, they like it. That's what I keep having to remember because I'm like, so that first 6 months of the pandemic where like nobody had any help. And I was like, my older daughter was in 2nd grade and my little one was 3. I couldn't fucking teach one person 2nd grade.
How?
Like, how do you teach a whole classroom? Like, it boggles my mind. And there are people who decided to keep homeschooling their kids.
No, I know. I'm like, I know a lot. Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Why? God, why? Why would you do that?
God bless them. Like, if you loved it and like, I just was like, I don't want to ever do this again. This is
never.
So, first it got to the limits of my math. Like, I can't remember any math at all anymore.
Especially the weird shit that they teach their kids
no,
now.
I
can't do any of it.
No, I can't.
I couldn't even teach my kids, like, pre-K shit. They're like, teach your kids pennies and colors, like, for the homeschooling. I was like, I'm not doing that. Sorry, you're not going to know your colors. You're just going to go to kindergarten. You'll fucking know this. Who cares? It's so crazy. So what's the future? What needs to happen?
Okay, so, I mean, I think the biggest things that need to happen are societal. Because those are actually, it seems like harder fixes, but they're easier because that interpersonal stuff between men and women and families is so much actually harder, I think, to fix. Yeah. On the bigger level, just get some paid leave. We're one of only basically 2 countries in the world that does not give parents paid leave.
Yes, you mentioned
That's
that
insane.
that we're such a wealthy nation and we're so behind in that stuff.
Yeah. So give parents paid leave. I mean, honestly, giving all workers paid sick leave, I think would be amazing for the health of society.
Of humans?
Of humans. Like sending people to work sick, you're spreading disease.
It's just stupid.
I feel like an idiot that I'm even having to explain that out loud to
Do people
right
not
now.
get sick days? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. That was, there was the big rail strike. At issue was paid sick days. One of the things that they broke the strike over was, and they still don't have paid sick days.
That's terrible.
Like Congress broke the strike and still does not provide those people paid. There's many people who don't get.
It's so inhumane. Like that's the sad part about capitalism and bothers me. It's so inhumane sometimes. You're like, God, every man for himself, literally. Like, oof.
But I feel like even that, it makes us more cruel to each other.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, if I just have to look out for number one, why wouldn't I not just do that? Yeah. So...
But I think, sorry, sidebar, but please go back to what you're going to say. But I think as a whole, humans are fantastically compassionate and kind. And I've been met with nothing, but as a whole, God, people are really cool.
Yes.
And it sucks that sorry, was that so stupid? I'm so tired.
No. I think
it's like, what?
Do you know people who go through life just being suspicious of everyone? I feel like it's so much better to just go through life expecting the best of people around you, right?
Yeah.
And that they are going to be compassionate.
They are generally.
Yes, they generally are. But yeah, so like paid leave, sick days, basic.
Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very basic,
we give
but would
you guys
help a lot
sick
of people.
days. You
sure do. Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
No paternity leave, though. No, I'm saying.
Do they like live in a closet in the side that you like lock at night, and you're they're lying to me right now?
Just like one of those massage parlors where it's cash only, and you can smell them cooking their food in the tiny little rooms.
And then workplaces, like every work is different, but just allowing some flexibility, allowing everybody to have a life, because one of the big points that I make in the book, and part of the reason that I think we don't have a bunch of things for parents is because all of these things are associated with moms and we don't give a fuck about moms. Everyone in the world pretty much will have to give care to somebody in their life at some point.
I know.
You have
So
parents who get older.
stupid.
Like, it's not a gendered thing, and we make it a gendered thing because we want to dismiss it. So it's just like, oh, that's a mom thing.
So
We don't have to
true.
care about it. So I think workplaces accepting that their workers have lives.
Yeah.
And I think that will happen more and more.
It is happening from
Yeah.
the pandemic.
Yes.
Because comedians have always been anti-work. And I feel like now you fuckers are finally getting around to like how artists have always been like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? But yeah, there should be some kind of a balance. Did you, I don't know if I read this in like a bullshit UK paper, that they did shorten the work week in Britain.
Yeah.
They did, right? Am I wrong?
I think it was
Google
great.
this?
There
England?
was some country did a 4-day work week.
Yes.
Yes.
And
But productivity is it doesn't really fall that much because people get burnt out. And so if you give,
Yeah.
if there's a amount of work that needs to get done, actually Microsoft did a huge study about this like 10 years ago.
I love how you just know these studies.
I know.
You're all
That's-
journaling.
That's
and
my
smart.
job.
Yeah. You're like, and then I read this thing. I'm like, wow. It's like you're a writer for the New York
It
Times
is
or
like
something. Yeah.
But for knowledge workers, so like any sort of white collar job, you can be productive for 6 hours a day.
That's it.
That's all you can do.
I would say less. I'd say 4.
Yeah.
If you're being honest.
Right, but you can do things like answer email, do like, things that are like less. But if you want real productive, like mental work, it's a finite amount. And so
know.
you're just making people do busy work for
Yeah. Sitting there.
Sitting there. So you can
Bodies.
see them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and politically, oh, Jesus Christ, we're never going to, so I'm very optimistic politically that we will get paid leave. I am not optimistic at all that there will be any movement on childcare because childcare is very expensive and there's still a lot of powerful, very conservative people who in their hearts believe that moms need to stay home. And so why would we make the state responsible for any kind of childcare when that's like
But
just
that's
a-
punishing people that have extenuating circumstances.
it
What
is.
if you're a single mother or you?
they want to punish those people. They want to punish
What if your
single mothers.
husband dies in war? Okay, you did the right thing. You served your country, and your husband dies overseas or something, like, or dies of cancer. Like, what the fuck is that
I
woman
know,
supposed
but
to do?
also what I don't understand is like there's a whole bunch of people who like are obsessed with marriage and like pushing people towards being married and staying married. Like I've been married for years. I love marriage. Marriage is if it's
Yeah.
good, it's good.
Yeah.
But if your marriage is shitty, you can't force people to stay married, and you're not going to. So
know.
making all of these policies to push people to get married when for 40 years they've been saying like, yeah, we don't care for that. Like it's not working. Figure something else out. So
That too, and these same people that push these conservative values are often the biggest hypocritical
course.
pieces of garbage, and
Yeah.
they're having affairs and they're doing all kinds of terrible things behind closed doors. So,
but I mean,
gosh,
there are some people who have true conservative values and live them. But the whole thing, once Trump got elected, it was so clear that all of these very conservative evangelicals who were like family values, just threw that in the garbage to support him.
yeah,
And it's like, pick a lane, man.
Pick a lane.
Either like have your conservative values and stay with them, but don't be like, well, but he's getting us judges. It's like, okay. Like, I don't believe you anymore. But yeah, so I'm not optimistic about childcare, but I am optimistic about paid leave. And then on the interpersonal, it's tough, man. It's really
Yeah.
tough. Also because I don't think we're ever going to get to straight 50-50 only because of the biology of it. Like if you're carrying and giving birth to babies, that's just going to take you out of work. Not completely, but it's going to be harder to have that complete equality. I think that's okay as long as you've worked it out amongst yourselves. Like, I just think it's like a constant negotiation.
yeah.
And I think the couples that are the happiest with their balance are just, and also I have to say, I hate talking about feelings. So like,
So do
this is hard for me.
terrible.
And my husband's always like, we need to look at the calendar. And I'm like, no, why? I don't want to. But you have to keep fucking talking about it. Like your lives change, your jobs change, what your kids' needs change. So it's just something you have to keep reevaluating all the time and knowing that.
No, and I also the book is called "Screaming on the Inside" by Jessica Grose. Please buy this. But also, you're right too. I think what happens when you have children as a woman, and it's so beautiful too, actually, is I started to realize that the career is amazing. I've been blessed. Like I made it. I'm in this fucking rarefied air full of, I get to make a living at stand-up comedy. This is wild. And at the same time, having kids and spending time with them is the greatest fucking blessing. And it gave me so much more perspective on the career and made life more layered and meaningful. Because just going for money and going for fame, it's very empty.
Yeah, I'll bet.
It's hollow, right? So you're like, what do I have at the end of the day if not children and if not love and if not a home and the chaos of that? It's like, I know comedians that don't have children, and I'm like, what are you doing? Or people who don't have kids, I'm always like, what do you do past a certain age? Like, there's only so many brunches you can go to and so many movies you can see. And, like, what is life? It can't just be me, my ego.
It is,
shit.
it is
Boring.
the greatest joy. And it's also just like, it provides you perspective. It brings your family together. It's really great to hang out with them. Like I was saying, my kids are 6 and 10. They are so fun to spend time with now. They're and this is more of like about your feelings about them, but like there is no greater feeling than when I pick them up from school and they're so happy to see me.
Yeah.
No one else in my life is that happy to see me. My husband sometimes, but I'm just like, yes, I'm so happy to see you too. Like it's the greatest.
Yeah.
And they're so funny all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
especially my little one, everything that comes out of her mouth. Although I'm like, speaking of money, I'm like, you're either going to have to go into finance or marry someone rich because she loves. I'm like, also you're being a Jewish stereotype right now. She's 6. She loves talking about money.
I love it.
And I
Good
was like,
girl.
we took them to a bounce house, like a trampoline park, hellscape. Have you taken them to
Yeah.
those?
That's where your kids get germs.
Yeah.
That's when they come home sick.
Yeah, that's
it's
when they're disgusting. They love them. I hate. So we took them to one. One just opened in Brooklyn. We took them, and it was like I think we spent $200. It was so expensive.
The bouncy. Why is that bouncy shit so expensive? It's a rubber thing you fucker blew up. It costs $300 on Amazon.
Yeah.
I know that. I
And it
own
was
one in my
clear
backyard.
that they like it's ridiculous. Anyway, so we're on the way home. My younger daughter's like, I want to get takeout for lunch, and I was like, no, we just spent all this money.
Yeah.
I'm not. What do you think I'm made of money? And she goes, I wish you were. And I was like, I'm just not. I'm like, you're gonna. Good luck, girl. Like you're gonna. I hope you figure it out.
Yeah. I hope she does. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but I just am.
I love
it
that.
was like
I love that.
That we trying to show them the value of money and like not be materialistic monsters. And she's not. Just hadn't taken in any of those messages.
No. They see it. They see it. Yeah, you know what's interesting too? I read this thing on, so now like I'm searching out women like you, Jessica Grose. Please buy her book, Screaming on the Inside, but also other women who are telling the truth a little more realistic picture of motherhood. Oh God, what was I just going to say? My brain is addled. Oh God, I had it. Hold on. It was something about joy and then the no. I lost it. What did I say right before that? Honesty.
You're seeking out people who are honest about motherhood.
Right, the ambivalence bit too, admitting to the profound love and the profound fucking agony of all of this. And look at us, we came full circle. I mean, the beginning of this podcast was like, holy shit, this is the word, motherhood. And then you get to the end of it and you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But as long as you're comfortable with the ambivalence and the constant fluctuation of feelings, and maybe for some women it's much easier. Oh, this is what I'm going to say. Because when you parent a child, you just relive all of your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another, and I think too, part of this is newer because we're in an age where now everyone's in therapy or people are starting to really go to therapy and learn about triggers and trauma and You basically get re-traumatized through every phase your kid goes to. You relive your own stuff. And it's very triggering, and I hate that word. But it is, and you're basically self-parenting. You're parenting yourself through this process
Absolutely.
of healing, really healing yourself. Because I think I'd done the intellectual work of therapy before I had children, and then the healing work comes when you look into your child's eyes and you hug and you hold and you love and you soothe and you do all these things. That relationship is just like, that makes me sad that dads don't, I don't know if they do get all that. I don't know. But it's beautiful.
It is.
And it's tough.
It is really hard. And I think I don't know how you feel with sort of younger children. I'm finding it very hard with my older daughter because she is about to go into middle school. And that's the worst. And she is handling it much better than I'm like, she's already dealing with like mean girl shit and she's got such a good perspective on it. And like her friend group, like so now she has this Apple Watch she can text. They have a group chat and it's like 90% like puppies and kitty pictures and like
God.
Taylor Swift memes.
Oh, good.
And then 10% just psychological violence towards each other. Like, like I'm including, like, we're rejecting this one, something like veiled mean, like, just like, oh, you'd wear anything. Like, not exactly but that vibe. And I'm just like, she's unbothered. I want to kill them. Like, it's very, and I think because I have girls, it's like even more intimate. I think because you have boys, you can maybe have a little bit more distance from.
Yeah. Well, here's the difference between boys and girls. Boys will punch the shit out of each other.
Right.
And it's done. Girls can't do that. So the anger and the social hierarchy has to be has to be created. We sublimate that with psychological warfare.
Right.
So that's why it's so much more insidious and evil. It's like, I wish we could just punch each other out and be fucking done with it.
Yeah. Get on with our day.
Yeah.
But I do think. I do feel like kids
tough.
now are nicer to each other than we were.
Because the administrations force that shit. But do you really think it's gonna come out somewhere?
Of course it will. Of course, but I don't think that they will let kids be like horribly bullied.
No,
in the way that they used to,
it,
like the way that like was like actually would send you to therapy for the rest of your life, which I think is good. I think that there are limits to how much they can actually prevent meanness.
I know,
because humans are mean and that's normal.
Yeah.
And clearly, like there's kids say just wild shit to each other all the
Wild
time.
shit, bro.
And you're not going to stop that. No. But I do think that they have at least made some progress on like the worst bullying that
I think so. I mean, I literally got into fist fights with girls in locker rooms and nobody broke those up. I was like, really? Not a teacher? No one?
The thing I think about all the time on my elementary school bus. The female bus driver would play Howard Stern on the Can you imagine if they did that
I love Howard. Noin, 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 noin. I just taught my kids noin, 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 noin. When they push the elevator button, number 9, they have to go noin, noin, noin like sour shoes. That is wild.
Yeah. That would not happen today.
Never. Yeah, sometimes people are like, I listen to Where My Mom's At with my kids. I'm like, you shouldn't. You really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. There's a lot of stuff in here I don't want children to exactly hear. Oh, man. So you're here alone.
Yeah.
You're going to have a child-free sleep?
I did last night. It was great. I had a drink with my friend who lives here. It was so fun. And then I switched between Bravo and Forensic Files, just back and forth.
Violence and then
it was
chick fights.
Delight.
Yeah.
What do you watch on TV when you're...
I like really juvenile. I'm into Wednesday, which is finished
I loved
that.
Wednesday. It was so good. My girls watched it. They were into it.
Good. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love goth culture. I haven't been watching. I watch Bluey. I'm really deep into Bluey. Really good stories. Oddly, I'm being taught how to parent by a family of dogs that are so much better than I am.
Yeah.
At parenting. Bluey's deep.
People
are you
love
into it?
Bluey. It was
slaps, bro, as the kids say.
It was slightly after my kids were just a little too old,
Wow.
and because the younger one only wants to watch what the older one watches now.
Yeah.
But I think we're finally moving past this, but I just pray that you don't have to watch all these shit Disney. I hated
The live
all of
action
them.
stuff?
Yes.
I don't.
They're so bad.
They're such dog shit.
And
no.
they're like, oh God, they're really bad. And they're just the acting sucks. Like, I'm like, this is not, I'll watch something else with you, but not these.
I agree. It's so cheesy.
Yeah.
It's like, I do have respect for, like, I'm probably older than you, but at least we didn't get talked down to. Like, I feel like that's so dumb. Like, we just watched adult shows.
Oh yeah,
You just watch
reruns. I like
sitcoms.
reruns of Three's Company.
Say,
I
yeah.
didn't understand.
Like
I was
dick
just like, it's
jokes,
fine.
gay jokes,
Yeah.
thoroughly inappropriate. Like the old lady wanted to fuck the old guy all the time.
It was fine.
It was great.
Well, I actually just had this conversation with my mom because she was like, both my parents worked. I had a lot of time in the afternoon by myself.
Yeah.
Before I started
kid.
playing sports, I was like once I could play sports, I was like really into that. But
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
What'd you play?
just captained the field hockey team. Yep.
Jessica.
Yeah. I'm classic. Like if there is,
You're a beast.
I know.
I love you.
It was, I have a lot of aggression
I love it. So did I.
that I now have no outlet for. Like
Yeah.
that's bad. But
No, you're a
before that,
writer. You're a writer.
yes,
That
is-
takes it out.
It does. But when my parents were working, I just told my mom this year, I would watch all the talk shows. Like not like Oprah was like mildly classy. It was like I would watch. I don't even know if you got this, not on the East Coast. Richard Bay. Do you
Oh, I know Richard Bay.
Richard Bay. I
Yeah.
watched Richard Bay.
Piece of
Springer.
shit. Springer.
Just like
Garbage.
when I was like 11, 12. Like,
Google Richard Bay because I
what
remember
is he
the
doing now?
name.
What happened to him?
Richard Bay. What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I remember
All that stuff. I was saying, I watch like any garbage documentary. Oh my God. Looking rough, my man.
I remember that. The biggest piece of shit is Springer, though.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
But I watch a lot of documentaries. I want someone to
Ricky Lake, remember her show?
make a documentary about 90s talk show hosts.
Yeah, that's a
Because
really good
it would
idea.
be really good.
Ricky Lake kept it somewhat classy.
She did.
Ricky's real. That was her promo. Ricky's
she
real.
is, but she made this documentary
About the child,
natural
but-
childbirth that was like, I can't with.
Thank you. I vomited because I saw that. I watched it when I was pregnant. And then I remember she was like, and then they give you Pitocin to induce the contractions. And I was like, what's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with that.
The whole time I was like, yeah, TikTok, bitch. I want to get home. I don't want to be in labor for 48 hours. Let's go.
Also, like,
Who cares?
and epidurals are the best thing that was ever
Ever.
invented. Why you don't want me to get one?
I don't
If you
know.
don't want to get one, God bless. Go. That's your journey. But I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, bitch.
And you cannot keep me from that.
No.
Also, we had huge babies, so I don't want
Yeah,
it. Like,
big. They tore me up,
Yes. Like I don't want to. If you are gonna have a 9-pound plus baby and you don't want
Yeah.
an epidural, fine, but don't talk to
luck.
me. Like, like I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, and I remember she was demonizing these male doctors that they want to get on the golf course by 5 o'clock, so they speed up your delivery. I'm like, so do I. What's wrong with get it the fuck out of me and let's get on with it. It doesn't seem that terrible, but she wants to do it natural. Do it natural. You can do it in your fucking living room.
But again, it's like
Go for it.
right. But what bothers me is when they sort of bend the statistics to show. So there was a huge longitudinal study that showed one of the safest things that you can do. And again, you don't have to do it. It's your choice. But inducing at 39 weeks is one of the safest things.
Yeah.
Because then if you're going too late,
Yeah.
like that can cause problems.
especially if you're
like,
old.
Yeah. So, it's just like, it's not unhealthy either way. It's like, if that's what you want to do, that's great. But like, don't bend the statistics to make it seem like
every hospital doctor, every hospital birth is evil. I'm like, it's not. And I hate to say this too. I have friends that have given birth in their living room successfully without any
Me too.
intervention. Great. But then I know a lot of women who wanted the natural birth, wanted the water birth, the home birth, and they have some wackadoo midwife with the stick to the ear, like listening to the heartbeat. And they ended up in the hospital with C-sections because they went too long natural labor and the baby's heartbeat is falling or whatever the hell. Like, dude, just, I don't know. It's all fine. But
I did all that. Did you do, both my kids were late. My second one was like a full week late.
Oof.
And I am a big skeptic. I'm not hippie, like whatever is the opposite of a hippie. I don't like any
me
of that
too.
stuff. But I did all, I was like, I'll drink the tea. I got acupuncture. I was like, just get the baby the fuck out of me. I will do all, and none of it worked.
None of it worked. None of that's true.
None of it worked.
I ate the spicy salad at some restaurant in the valley. I got a massage to supposedly stimulate.
Yeah.
None of that worked. I had to induce my second one because he did not want to come out.
No,
And it was fine. He was
my
healthy.
second one came the night before she was supposed to be induced. It was like she saw the writing on the
Perfect.
wall and she was just like, fuck. all right, I'll get out. I'll be born.
I'll leave, bitch.
Yeah.
I'll leave this comfortable place.
Yeah, but it's weird because so my older one does not like to, she's very independent. She doesn't like cuddling. She's like, and the little one, I was like, you wanted to stay in because she calls herself the cozy queen. Oh. And she just loves to cuddle. I'm actually going to be very sad when she is no longer a little kid because she's so sweet. And
so's my little one, yeah.
But also loves money and wants
Yeah. That's what you see, this is the stuff dads don't. Does your husband get this stuff?
He gets some of it, but not all of it.
No. And that is the beauty of being a mother, is that you get those cuddles and you get the inside track.
Yes.
And that does make me, look, I'm not one to tout the toxic masculinity. I don't, whatever. But I do think it sucks that the dudes can't or haven't been, whatever. It's not cool to be down with your kids this much. I don't know.
So I talked to this dad who wrote a book. His name's Keith Gesson, and he described this moment in a way that I now think about it all the time. We're in a transitional dad moment because we're moving away from that like toxic masculinity, whatever you want to call it, like old school dad, like doesn't interact with his kids, like has no emotional awareness, like. Yeah. But we're not quite. I don't know if we're ever going to get to the like full, or do we even want to get there? Like. There are certain things. No, I am self-described feminist. But there are certain things that I just will not, at least domestically. Yeah. I tell my husband, I'm like, I'm too pretty to take the trash out. That's your job. Like, I don't take the trash out.
I'm too pretty.
And in New York City, we have a car and we street park, which
is that's a whole
worst.
thing.
It's a whole thing.
I've heard of this.
It fucking sucks. Like, I don't like.
Because he's got to move the car.
He moves the car. I don't touch that car.
Well, yeah.
I don't even drive anymore. I'm like, I don't do that.
Because I thought you were going to say something else. There was oh my God, there's a clip that went so viral from the show when Dr. Drew was on last time. And it was a caller. Do you guys remember this? The voicemail. And I talk about vag dryers, which are things that turn you off that a man does. Okay. And I was talking things like, I hate like toy collections. Video games turn me off. When I see a grown man with like the VR goggles, I'm like, my pussy cannot get drier right now. Like, please. And this woman called in and she goes, my vag dryer is when my boyfriend has a pity party. And he says things like, what is it? It was like, I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel good of where I'm going in my life, and makes my vag dry up. And I think this hit such a nerve with the male listeners. Yeah. And all over, it got crazy views. And it was like, see, this is why we don't share feelings with women, because it's perceived as, feminine, and it'll make you make your vag dry up and this and that. And I was like, well, first of all, no, I think this woman has real emotional problems. I don't think that's the norm.
No, it's not.
It's not the norm. And I just want guys listening, like, that woman is not an emotionally sensitive or educated emotionally
well,
person.
Also, I mean,
don't
you like really want to connect with your partner? Like when you're sharing like your deepest vulnerability I don't think that's gendered. It shouldn't be gendered either way. Like that's what being a real partner is being able to like show that. I always think like, Jesus Christ, I really hope my husband never leaves me, because I don't want to ever show anyone the worst parts of myself. Like, it's like we've been through so much together, right? Yeah. He's seen the worst parts of me. I've seen the worst parts of him. Like, having to show that to somebody else, somebody new.
So embarrassing.
Exhausting. Like, exhausting. But that's what real connection is, right? Like, I don't think I agree with you.
You can't have a relationship with somebody who's just stoic all the time. Right. I mean, women did in the past, and it's highly unfulfilling. It sucks.
I think a lot of time. So I was very close to my grandparents. They lived nearby when I was growing up. And my grandfather was raised that way. And they never fought. Because I think my grandmother was like a little afraid of him. Like it was a good marriage, but an old fashioned marriage. And they would have one fight every 5 years where she had stored up literally everything that had happened. And she would just unload. Because you can't live like that, right?
Yeah, because they'll bring up stuff from like 20 years. She's like, and then you didn't put the coffee in the microwave. Here's the clip. This is wild. You can see my face. I'm like, this woman's
He
crazy.
doesn't think anybody likes him. He's not smart enough. He's not funny. Dries up my vag.
Well, Sarah, thank you
that?
for being so supportive. Men love that. When you're supportive, when we need you, when we're feeling vulnerable, when we're needing that support, especially from our spouse, it just really warms my heart to know that you're worried about your vaginal moisture when we really need that emotional support.
Yeah, he's
Thank
like,
you.
I'm not feeling like I'm valuable. I'm not feeling like I'm good enough. And she's like, ugh, my pussy's so dry. Shut up. Yeah, it's sad. I can't tell you. Oh, that's the beginning clip. I can't tell you how many times over the course of, Tom and my marriage, we're in a business that's highly competitive and highly discouraging. How many times he and I have gone to each other over the years, been like, God, I'm the fucking worst. I'm such a piece of shit. And the other one will be like, you're not a piece of shit. You're get up, do it again tomorrow, and to not be able to say to your spouse, like, I'm the fucking worst. Am I the worst? Am I the biggest piece of shit? And have them be like, you're not the worst. You're just having a day.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Is it hard to be in the same? I'm very competitive. I could not be in the same profession as my spouse.
It's funny. I get this question a lot. I think yes. I think it would be difficult had we not started at the same time.
Right.
So Tommy and I started as open micers together. So we've been in the trenches with each other since we were 23 and 26.
Yeah.
I've literally seen, so we grew up together.
Yeah.
So his success is my success and vice versa. And all the other comedians I've come up with, I feel a camaraderie with. Because just to make it in this business
So hard.
is such a amazing thing. To see any one of your homies make it, let alone your husband, you're like, fucking please. Yes, good.
How do you deal with this is a big struggle for me just because I write vulnerably.
Yeah.
And so taking in feedback from let's just say haters.
Haters? Yeah. Okay.
It's I find it very hard to not let it get to me.
Of course.
There's good faith feedback and bad faith feedback. Good faith feedback hurts and I try to take it seriously and make myself better and listen to it. But the bad faith feedback can really get in my head to an extent. And it's my profession obviously is not one-to-one comparison with yours, but having to just get back up and do it again because I have to write twice a week. Even however, if I feel like it, if I don't feel like it, but I think actually that's good because it makes you just be like, all right, keep it moving. People didn't like something about this piece. Keep going.
Here's the deal, man. Here's what I've learned. Haters are fans who don't know it yet.
Because they're having a strong response to you. Yeah.
Your job, the way I see it, your job is to elicit an emotional response.
Mm-hmm.
You're a form of entertainment now, especially with journalism.
Yeah.
God knows what that is. You are in the business of selling advertising in many ways. Yes, there's truth in what you do, but so to elicit any type of a reaction is the gig. Good and bad. What's the opposite of love? It's hate. It's not indifference. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. Thank you, Smart Chad, for nodding. So when they're indifferent, it means they haven't noticed you yet. When you've got haters, it means you've got it. You made it. So I think all the haters going to hate. Fill up those comment sections. Just more money in my fucking bank account.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
See, thank them. And don't take it too seriously. Because think about this too. Would you ever in your life read something that you disagreed with and then write something hateful to the author of that piece?
I also just wondered, did they have
mental problems?
Do they have group chats though? It's if I want to talk shit, I do it privately. It's not I'm not judgmental. It's just I don't need to do it to their face or publicly.
You read something you disagree with, you move right on.
Yeah.
I don't who wrote that? Jessica Grose. What's her email? Click. And now I'm going to find her boss. Click. And now I'm going to.
Yeah.
What kind of mental state is that person in? Think
Not
about how
great.
unhappy and sad they are.
Yeah.
They're not your equal. They don't deserve your emotional.
Oh,
fuck them.
I don't know why it's been hard. I think because it's I've had some scary shit that I
Don't go into it.
I'm not going to go into it, but that it just makes everything I think a little more anxious about that the feedback could get that scary is
Oh, well, that's true. Yes. To quote Bill Burr, I asked him one time because he says a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't read Twitter. I don't read comments. I don't even know what people are saying about me. Don't read it.
I know.
Don't read it.
That's my 2023 goal.
Don't read
to
it.
be strong.
Don't read it. Well, you should read Screaming on the Inside by Jessica Grose. Get it on Amazon right now. Jessica Grose. You're on the gram? That's where I found you?
Am.
How can people find you?
At Jess Grose Writes, and my last name is spelled Grose, which is a little weird. And Twitter at Jess Grose, and the New York Times. You know how to find that.
New York Times, a little publication.
Buy this book. That's all I want the people to do.
Buy her book. Support a working mother. She's fantastic. You guys read the book. You'll feel so much better if you've had any weird feelings towards motherhood. This will completely validate you, and you'll feel better about your life. Jessica, thank you so much for coming all the way to Austin.
Oh my God, my
you.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, you're the best. All right, until next time, stay cool, moms.
Meow.
Hi, Mommy. Thank you for watching that episode. Did you like what you see? I hope you did. So why don't you subscribe? Just click the subscribe button and, hit the notification bell so you can get notified. And also, why don't you watch another video? Watch one of these. You know what I'm saying? Like right here, down there, whatever. There's so much stuff, bro. I make these all the time for you to watch. That's why I'm here. I love you.